one name out of that offensive line group to watch going into the season, because there has to be somebody establish and jump ahead from that position group.
At Ingram?
Well, I think he's
there.
Are you saying somebody else?
Give me somebody to watch. Give me somebody
Like a young guy,
that could step in and really make an impact. Give me a Marlon Martinez. Give me a Doomerville. Give me a Bradford, Anthony Bradford. Give me a Chasen Hines. Give me a Cam Wire. Give me somebody who is going to give LSU some sense of confidence, of depth at the offensive line spot, because it's just literally impossible to go on a run at this level of college football and not experience it, just a touch of adversity on that position group. I mean, think about the impact that Adrian McGee had on the championship season 2 years ago. I mean, he was a 6th swingman offensive lineman for that group. Think about what he stepped into some spots and played. That Alabama game, the Clemson game. I mean, just played enormous over his skis in a lot of certain points, but had to have him. I mean, even T-Bob Hebert in 2011 during that championship run, a guy that started at center in both guard spots. I mean, 6th guy. I mean, you have to have some depth at the offensive line spot, and you're still yet to hear that dude. Who is it? Is it Xavier Hill? I've heard a lot about Xavier Hill, that he is durable and skilled enough to play almost all 5 spots. Can play inside, outside, almost like an Ethan Posick type talent. Does he step forward this year and get on the field? Because to me, that's the point of weariness for my opinion on LSU football going into the year. I think all over the field they are loaded.
Wide receiver, too.
Wide receiver, they got pros.
Figure it out.
Running back, they'll figure it out. I trust Ty Davis-Price and John Emery enough that if you got to make a play and you got to have them in a spot, they'll be all right.
John Emery is so curious to me.
I
mean, he's got all of the skills that you would want.
He's like a Corvette that doesn't run every time you get
right,
him.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a sports car. It's like, I got to take this thing to the shop again.
I mean, it just looks so good, and then sometimes you see it opened up, and you're like, there it is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
One Saturday night.
That's it. And then sometimes when you think it's a big spot and you're going to show up and show off, it's not available.
Valet doesn't even come to your car.
That's right. Like, what do you mean, man? 4's great, right?
Yeah,
and
feed 4.
It's a curious case for sure. But I think that they'll be okay at running back.
If he was the only guy we had, then I think that would be the write-up on the state of the program.
Look, you talk to people around the program and even people in recruiting, watch out for the Armani Goodwin kid from Alabama. There is a lot
from Auburn,
of people, yes.
Armani Goodwin's a very Auburn name.
Kevin Falk, it is. It's a great name, too.
Oh, yes.
But Kevin Falk did a bang-up job recruiting him, and from a lot of expectation from a lot of people that you talk to. Corey Connor's obviously another name, but out of the 2 that they signed, Goodwin seems to come in and be more ready to play. I think that instantly he could be on the field a little quicker than the rest of it. And then Trey Bradford, I think, Bradford is a curious case because, when you go when you have some injuries around a college football program, you're rehabbing when guys aren't we're at practice. You're in the building when necessarily guys aren't around. And you're almost forgotten about. I mean, to a degree.
Oh, it can happen easily. You fall into the shuffle and you're kind of gone.
Just kind of lost.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, like Brody said, with the rumors that were swirling around Bradford going into the portal and looking at other options, the fact that it's about 2.5 weeks past those rumors and people talking about that and he's not in the portal, I think says a lot. I mean,
portal's the ultimate trump card. Like, okay, I'll listen to you now.
Exactly. I mean, there's probably hurt feelings. There's probably some some things that want to be understood.
Promises.
Yeah, and those things can be discussed. And I think Bradford. I don't know Bradford and his situation, but it seems like he'll be around. It doesn't seem like he's leaving. I think if he would have, he'd be there. So I think everywhere else, I mean, they got the top 2 corners in the country. Safety, I think Jay Ward's going to be fine at safety. I think he's too good of a football player. Once you give him a permanent role, he's not going to want to leave the field. and I think he's good enough to play there. And if he's not, I think Sage Ryan can play.
You see any Jordan Tolles?
Jordan Tolles, maybe. That's another curious case.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Tolles, to me, coming out during recruiting, I thought was going to be a superstar. And if you watch his basketball highlights alone, you're just like, Jesus, get this guy on the field. But he just not being able to grasp it yet. I mean, it's still
teaching the horse how to run.
Yeah, it's just once it works out, maybe so. But the point is, they figured it out at linebacker. Bug Strong is going to play. He's going to, the top JUCO linebacker who they stole from Mississippi State on signing day is going to play. Mike Jones is going to play.
Nope.
I mean, they've got guys that are going to play at that spot. The rush defensive ends could potentially be two of the best in the league. When you talk about Ojulari and Gay, the defensive line is as deep and as good as it's been since Ogeron has been here. I think that will be maybe the shining piece of the entire team. But offensive line, I've got questions. I love Ed Ingram. I think Ed Ingram's a pro. Outside of that, I don't know if there's a pro around. I don't know if you've got an NFL guy around. And if you're asking one pro to block guys that are on Texas A&M's defensive line or Alabama's defensive line or Florida's defensive line that are going to put 3, maybe 4 of those guys into the league, well, then you're outmanned. And if you can't block, it doesn't matter who you have back there. Joe Burrow, 2018. They couldn't block him. He got murdered. It doesn't matter who you're trying to hand the ball to. Leonard Fournette, 2015. Give it to him 30 times, 7 yards. Can't block him. I mean, the offensive line has to have a player or somebody within that starting 5, whether it's Shanahan that really grasps and understands how to play center at the SEC level. Because, I mean, he was, first off, think about if you didn't get him where you would have been last year. I mean, that's good Lord. I mean, who? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
What if he goes down? Who's center?
I still don't know. I don't know. That's the issue. That's the problem.
Cam Wire is your plug-and-play guy. Imagine he's the swing.
Cam Wire's the duct tape.
But,
right.
But on the outside, you know, I mean, he looked good. I think Austin Deculus is an interior guy. I would put Austin Deculus at a guard. I mean, I know it's way too late to do that, and those guys have seen thousands of more hours of film and practice reps than me. But just he looks like he doesn't look like a tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, stature-wise he does, but play-wise, no.
Right. But Cam Wire could figure it out on the right side if you're going to play Rosenthal on the left. And to me, I mean, you got to put your best 5 out there. I mean, you've got to find your best 5, and you've got to find some quality depth quick.
And if we're concerned about the offensive line and you're talking about going against, like, stud defensive lines, imagine seeing that in practice with LSU's defensive line against our offensive line.
One way to get better.
Yeah, that's one way to get better and probably make you real nervous.
Yeah.
Going against Ollie Gay.
Yeah, like we can't block these guys. We can't block these cats.
Yeah, and I think, that's the best way to figure it out is to put them in front of Glenn Logan, to put them in front of Jaquelin Roy.
That's what's going to be like on Saturday.
I mean, just put them on the outside of Ojulari and say, keep him in front of you. Dance, Big Bear. You know what I mean?
Hold him, grab him, do something.
Do what you got to do, man. But they have to have a name emerge from the offensive line. Xavier Hill would be my name off of the radar to watch out for, but all of them really need to take enormous steps forward. Dumerville needs to play. Martinez needs to play. Bradford needs to play. I mean, those guys can't go through another season or through another 4 or 5 game stretch where they don't get a rep. I don't know what the hell's going on with Cardell Thomas.
I was just going to ask you.
I don't know. I mean, it is the
freak athlete.
Try to get on the track team, dude.
It's one of those stories that will go down into folklore of LSU football. I mean, it's just this guy that was a top recruit from Baton Rouge and was really the voice. He was the face and the voice of the class. I mean, when
he was a politician for LSU.
I hosted a radio show, we had him on. I mean, like twice a month, 3 times a month, just giving updates and talking about the class and talking about all the personnel. And for whatever reason, he just can't get on the field. And not only can he not get on the field, I'm telling you that Brody Miller probably writes a 2,000-word state of the program where he dives into quotes from opposing SEC coaches and gives depth charts on every single position. and Cardell Thomas's name isn't even in the write up. I mean, it has gotten to a point where I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that.
Is he a 5-star?
He was a 5-star.
Under Armour All-American. I mean, he was everything that you wanted for a recruit to come in and be. I mean, he had some of his highlight tapes are like, this guy's could plug and play now. And now it just looks like he doesn't even know which way's up.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Not to go off topic. My jaw dropped when he said, if TJ Finley could go to Auburn, he might be able to beat out Bo Nix. That's Auburn's boy. That was Gus Malzahn's.
That was Malzahn's boy. But now you've got Brian Harsin in there. And, I mean, listen to Cole Kublik talk about Nix. Even the most loyalist of Auburn people are not sold on Nix. And, I mean, Cole played with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Cole's a friend of his dad's. I mean, he does things that are very curious. I mean, from just being the quarterback and the way that he isolates himself from the team. I mean, if you watch them play, there will be instances where his running backs and his receivers are sitting around the offensive coordinator, and he's like on the other end of the sideline with his helmet on his head, like drinking out of a gator. It's like, almost like,
just checked out.
What's up, man? What's going on? I mean, do you want to be the leader of this group or not? I don't know. I mean, that Auburn was in love with TJ Finley during recruiting, but now it's a totally different group that is recruiting him. But Auburn to me feels like I don't know this, and I haven't talked to him, but it feels like the leader for Finley.
Well, because Alabama, there's no shot he's touching the field ever.
No way. I mean, I've heard Penn State and Texas as teams off the radar to watch.
I think it's Penn State. They need a quarterback.
Yeah. And Sarkisian's got a ton of respect in recruiting. Like, I mean, if you're kind of keeping up with this Arch Manning stuff, it feels like
Texas becoming a player.
Texas has become the player because of Sark, but a lot of people around it think Alabama was in the lead when Sark was there. Saban's like telling Arch Manning, "You're going to be my last recruit. You're going to be my last quarterback. I'll retire the day that we win the Natty after your junior season."
So tired of him.
I mean, this guy, bro.
Imagine Arch Manning goes to Texas. Man, talk about that, Brandon.
That would be great for LSU. If he
get him.
if he
Don't go to Alabama.
If he doesn't go to LSU, you want him to go to Texas. Yeah. So you don't have to play him.
If he goes to Alabama, that Manning name, my God, we just swing and miss on 3 of them, dude.
He ain't coming to LSU.
No, I don't think he is either.
I mean, I just
don't want him. I don't want to play him and him go 38 of 42 with 5 touchdowns. Like, oh.
Not that I believe his grandfather or anybody in his family would come down and say you're not going to LSU. I just believe that they have an internal feeling of you're not going to go to LSU, are you?
What is it then? What it just
the Ole Miss LSU rivalry when Archie was there that was the Alabama LSU rivalry, and I don't think that you prohibit your grandson from going somewhere for that, but he grew up in that environment. He saw that. He felt that. He knew that. I mean, he knows what the true feeling for the Mannings is around LSU, and it's based because of where they come from. They're Ole Miss people. It's understandable.
Lane could pull that off.
He could.
That'd be awesome.
100%.
Poor little Tennessee.
100%. Yeah. Watch David Cutcliffe at Duke.